welcome to another vidcast. This is part 2 of how to make money on creating audio apps. And forgive the shaking screen, my cat's taken a liking to my laptop, so she'll just be in. So part 1, which you can look it up on YouTube to get the day there, was about the easy way. The easy way was find someone who wants a audio app and write it for them and charge them money. And there were a couple of steps I outlined to doing that, which was first of all find someone. Second was to build it. And I guess number 3 was get their money. So today, however, we're going to be talking about the hard way. The hard way is doing it yourself, being your own client, basically. Okay. The basic idea of the hard way is to create your own voice-native intellectual property, okay, or to extend some sort of service. But the idea here is that you're doing something that adds to your bottom line. Your bottom line, someone else's bottom line, something like that. Whereas before, the easy way, you're mostly talking about brand awareness, where you're really advertising or marketing or basically building on the hype around video apps in order to, and that's kind of like one of your bigger selling points, is you're building on the hype. So it's more than just the app itself is almost inconsequential. It's just all the hype. Say, hey, look, I'm there. Whereas this is saying, no, we're actually going to take it real and we're going to do something with this. There's a great IBM commercial from many years ago, which I felt was kind of a watershed in web development. I'd play it now, but YouTube gets kind of annoyed if you incorporate something else into it, and my previous video got banned because of that. So I'll just describe it. I'll link to it in the comments, okay? But the thing starts out. This is back when the web was early, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, I've got to be on the web. I've got to be on the web." So you've got this kind of like middle-aged middle manager sort of sitting there, and you've got the bright young developer next to him. It's like, "Oh well, here we have the flaming logo, and here we have the spinning logo." What do you think? And the guy is like, wouldn't it be great if we could connect together our back-end stores with our processing and sales and, connect the customers into all of that and have it all manage things together. That would really change things. And the guy looks at his logos and looks at him and looks at the logos and is like, I can't do that. And then, it's a whole, go to IBM for e-business, blah, 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 like that. But the point was that up till then, everybody's like, oh my God, we got to be on the web, without asking, what does it do for me? Okay. It's kind of the phase that audio apps are at now. It's like, oh, we need an audio app so we can get some press and, this will be cool. That's the easy way. But that put the question into a whole bunch of managers' minds. All the people writing the checks for all this web development starting to say, what are we actually getting out of this? And that is going to happen at some point with audio apps. I don't know when. Maybe it already has. I don't know. But at some point, there's not going to be a lot of publicity around, oh yeah, another company has produced an audio. Great. And they're not going to get that bump from it. So unless it adds and actually produces something of value, no one's going to be interested. That's one of the disadvantages of the easy way. That is eventually going to go away. So in that light, what the hard way is about is creating something that delivers actual value. Okay, that people get a benefit from and get a revenue from, something that's beyond just hype or publicity. So, this is hard, okay, because first of all, no one's done it. I've tried really hard for 2.5 years, and I can't say I have something that's even revenue neutral. Not when you count my time. And so, there's no real models to go through or things to follow. I mean, there's standard software development, dictates a whole bunch of stuff, and this stuff is all good and can be followed there, but no one's actually got across the finish line. Not that I have seen. Capital One have tried really hard to, but I'm not certain that they've really made it over the line, and it's still not just mostly for publicity. But maybe they have. Hard to say. But it is something certainly worth pursuing. I'll get a bit more to why I feel passionately about that later on. The other problem is there's not really kind of a lot of support from the vendors. I mean, Google and Amazon are kind of like not really making it easy. everything's free. And, they're all into the publicity side of things, and there's not really a lot of support for doing it the other way. Either, through encouragement or, adding value to that sort of thing, or otherwise. So that makes it kind of difficult because you're going to have to do it so almost in spite of them rather than as a partnership with them. They haven't really seen it as a partnership and an opportunity. I'm not sure why, but that's the state of things. And again, the problem is you have to convince your clients, if you're doing it on behalf of somebody, that it's worth investing in something that provides actual value, or yourself. It's your time that you're spending on this. I've chosen in Zazazu to put a lot of effort into this. We put a considerable amount of time, over 2.5 years, into trying to create a property that delivers actual value and eventually produces a return. It's adds up to a lot, and if you count your time at anything near industry rates. So you've got to convince yourself that it's worth it, that it's a genuine opportunity. Right now, since it hasn't been proved, you're taking a risk. But that's one of the differences. The easy way, your client takes the risk, and this, you're taking the risk that you can actually get something out of this at the end. So let's say you've decided that I want to create a native app that actually is has bottom line stuff. What are the steps? I got 3 steps that I've outlined that you can take along that. Step 1, build something of value. Okay. Nobody's going to buy something if it doesn't really do something useful for them. I mean, and a lot of skills and assistant apps and stuff like that are the real quick sort of do something, come back with it. And that's great. It can be a great productivity thing, but it's not clear that that rises to the level of genuine value for something here. And of course, the other problem is the vendors really like free stuff, okay, because that adds value to the product they are selling. You buy an Amazon Echo, well, comes all this free stuff, then you're getting really good value for the money, so they kind of haven't, maybe you could say they have an inbuilt interest not to have free stuff on it, but anyways, they don't make, the end result is the fact that there is so much free stuff out there that you have to compete with it all, and you have to compete with the expectation that everything is free. Okay, so you really have to add a lot of value to get over the bar to the point where people are willing to pay for something. Okay, and that comes into this. When you say create something of value, it's not just, hey, I have a value. You need a way of measuring it so you know if you've achieved your goal. Okay, it can be a number of things. It could be the number of users you have, the services they engaged with, if it's actually a commercial thing, how much money you get from it, or if they, if they value it, then if they're willing to spend their money on it, something like that. For our main venture in this area, which is a fantasy game called Six Swords, our measurement is time. How much time have they spent playing this game? And the goal we set was 10 hours. Okay, if they have spent 10 hours playing this game, you could probably charge them some money for it. Okay, now right now we're not charging for money. We're working up to that, and we'll step through these things. We're following this course. But we reckon that somebody's willing to spend 10 hours of their life on this, playing this game on the audio system. We could probably charge them some money, and they would still do it. Okay, if they spend less than 10 hours, they might no, I'll stop after everything like that. But, it's kind of arbitrary, it's kind of there, but, that was the metric used. And we're just saying, choose your own metric. 10 hours is huge, okay? Now, something like a broad fantasy game like Six Swords, that's reasonable. Something, a smaller, more focused skill, you probably don't want to pick 10 hours, but you could pick a time, the amount of time, or number of times they use it, or, if they come back to it at least once a week for 6 weeks, then you might consider that as a customer that we could that values what we have done. So, step 1, create something of value. Okay. Step 2, acquire users who value what you've done. Okay. It's great having something of value, but you need to have people, you need to get to the people who value it. Okay. There's some people who really, really value Six Swords. We got one really dedicated user, a couple of dedicated users who used it over 100 hours. One person has used it 350 hours. It's like, wow. If I had a couple hundred of them, I want. Okay, and I have, less than this many who've used it more than 100 hours. You know, if I had that times that many of them, I'd be doing well. Okay, but you need to find these people and get them there. Okay, right now, that is the hardest part of the hard way. Okay, people are like, oh, monetization, and we'll come to that. But right now, user acquisition is the hardest thing. Okay, so be aware of that. Okay, don't go kill yourself building something of value and then go become surprised that no one is using it. The world will not beat a path to your door if you make a better mousetrap. Okay, and that's part of the problem here is getting them to you. There's no advertising. You know, there's no on-device advertising to attract users. Okay, there are other forms of advertising. We've tried almost all of them. We've tried Facebook, we've tried AdWords, we've tried a couple of different things to, you know, blog entries, sponsored placement, you know, this sort of thing to get users. But all of this requires them shifting context from reading a web page or a mobile ad to, oh, by the way, hey Google or okay Alexa, you know, to that, and then you always lose people with that. So every you know, dollar you spend, you don't get that much out of it because you lose people on the transition. So that's hard. And right now there's no advertising on the platforms. Amazon has just started experimenting with, you know, sort of when a skill finishes, they go, hey, why don't you try some other skill? But that's all in their control. You know, right now when you finish 6 Swords, it recommends a competitor, which I'm not really very happy about. But I have no control over it, and Amazon doesn't let you have any control over it. You can't opt out. You can't buy that. I would love to buy that advertising space on my competitors to push them towards me. But that's not there. So, somebody's going to have to be really innovative here and come up with something. Okay? That's acquisition. The other part of acquiring users is retention. Okay? Keeping them there. Well, right now there's no bookmarks. You can't, oh, hey, I like this. Let's put a bookmark. And then there's a little icon on your desktop reminding you about this. Or, you know, a little icon up there. And it's just not part of the auto device. Some of them might be coming out with saying, hey, you know, what's that thing I was playing before? Or, you know, you can kind of list the things you've used recently and stuff like that. And that's, you know, a little bit of a stuff, but it's a big thing. And you need to factor that in, that it is hard to acquire users and it's hard to retain them. Okay, that's why step 2, acquire users, is the hardest part. So, but let's say you've got enough users that you think, yes, I've got my target, this is what I want. Step 3 is to monetize those users. Okay, a lot of people like jump up and down and they're like, oh, there's no monetization APIs. Well, first of all, there is on Google. They have a transaction API. It's complicated, but yes, it is complicated. It's a complicated thing. I mean, you know, don't do this if you can't do complicated things, because this is the hard one. And to date, just about no one I'm aware of has used it. Possibly because they haven't got past step 2. But it's there. You know, there isn't one on Amazon, but, you know, I was trying to monetize my skills and agents long before there was the Google API. That's not the only way to do it. There are plenty of ways to monetize. I got a little list here. Freemium to premium, pay to enable. A lot of people like that. That's how mobile started. It's like, oh, you know, but I'm not that bullish about it. But that's a way to do it. Skill can come up and you can say, hey, that's great. You know, I'm happy you're interested in this. Go to our webpage and pay me some money, and then I'll let you do it. No, but again, you can do a free version, you can do a heavy version. 6 Swords has a 6 Swords Lite, which will always be free, and it's going to have a 6 Swords Premium, which will not always be free. And that's, you know, one way of managing. You can do that today. You need a companion website to get their money, but, you know, transactions, even the Google API has that. You have to go to a companion with this, because, you know, you're getting somebody's money, and it's doing that purely by voice. I'm not sure it's ever going to happen. But, you know, who knows? Maybe it will. Related merchandising. You can buy 6 Swords t-shirts. Woohoo! I had those for Starlanes, and they actually paid for 2 months worth of server fees with my t-shirt sales. Yeah. I sold 2. Servers aren't expensive. But there's like, it's a little hard with merchandising because you got an audio product. You have to develop some sort of iconography that you can do with stuff. But, you know, there's ways to do it. It is a way to merchandise. in-app advertising. This has kind of been, sort of, both Google and Amazon are not very keen on in-app advertising, so that's not a biggie. It can be done. I was doing it before it was banned, but it didn't do very well, so I didn't really care when it was banned. But there's sort of a narrow scope you could still do this in, but it's not a biggie. In-app currency. This is a big one. You, again, send them to another website to buy, but they can buy a chunk of your invented currency, and then when they're inside of your application, they can choose to spend it on different things. Maybe they're features for your app, or game that's like perks in the game or whatever if you've got a game. But if you got a more productivity app, you might sort of like, oh, for every extra account you add, it's going to be another 100 talents of your whatever your currency you invent or something like that. But that's if you've got ongoing stuff as opposed to a once-off payment. So that's another approach. And again, doesn't require anything new. You can do it with everybody today. Downloadable content. We have that in Six Swords. It's one of those things where we haven't put the monetization side on yet, but that's another thing where we have extra features that are available, and you can spend in-game currency on them. It's kind of a variant of in-game stuff, but it's content as opposed to perks. Subscriptions. Amazon has announced this they have announced that they have one skill that does this, which is Jeopardy. They have not made this available to anybody else, but one can read the entrails and guess that they will. But guess what? You've already got subscribed to Amazon. All right. You can, just the same as sending people to a website to pay you money, you can send them a website and you subscribe to Amazon and charge them a subscription. You can already do it. And it works with Google too. It's there's nothing stopping you doing that. That, I think, is a pretty good model. That's kind of our model of choice for something like Six Swords. We got people who've been using it for like 10 hours, and it's like, they might be willing to pay a couple bucks a month to continue to use it, That's the hope. Now, how much you can charge, where your target is, that's all, in the game there. But there's a whole bunch of different ways you can actually monetize with the stuff that's there today. So people who whine about needing an API, it's like, come on, you can do it. If you can get this far, if you can get past the hump, which is acquiring users, it's just engineering to do the monetization part of it. Not a big deal. So, the hard way. Advantages. Well, once you've got it, if you can do that, you've got something that's on solid ground. Okay? As long as you can continue to grow it, and its growth will fuel itself. Okay? If you've got a positive revenue stream, you can use that to fund either expanding it to make it more interesting for more people with more value in it, or to fund advertising or whatever way you find of acquiring users or whatever. And it's up, because it's hard to get. There's almost zero penetration in this market, and they keep selling, so you can just keep doing more. It's only growing. Okay, we're in this big, explosive growth stage. If you've got something that's trending positive, you just keep going. Unlike the easy way, where every client you have is the last one thing you're going to sell them, because until they do a new marketing scheme, and it peters out as the interest wanes. This goes the other way. It goes up. Very hard to get there, but it goes up. The other thing is that if you can prove a positive flow, you can get funding. Okay, it's like right now, it would be lovely. I've talked to a couple of venture capitalists, but it's mostly about the state of the market, and which is mostly it sucks. So I don't want to borrow any money on this because I have no proof that I'm going to get a return on it. Okay, now the moment that I get to that point, or anybody gets to that point, it's like, hey, look, it's self-funding and it's going up. Okay, then that's the point where investors can become interested. Okay, and then you can really do some interesting things. So that's a big advantage there. The other thing is the hard way is hard, which means that anybody who wants to compete with you has to get over the same humps. Okay, with the easy way, anybody can write a template game. It's like, oh, look, insert IP here, boom, hey, look, I've got it. Anybody else can do it. And it's a huge problem. On the Alexa platform especially, where you got people copying. They see a successful skill, you get a whole bunch of copies of it, and it's just like everybody's at each other's throats, and there's no IP protection, and it's a shark fest. But on the hard way approach, it's like, there's a huge amount of engineering in something like Six Swords, and you can't get somebody just overnight decide to copy it. They have to throw an awful lot of money at it. And even then, there's all the skills and experience you learn while doing it. You've got this massive head start. It's very hard for anybody to copy. It's hard for anybody to catch up with. It's your field. You can set a seed at this and get there. You're made. You've got clean runway in front. So, disadvantages. No one's done it yet. No one's tried harder than me, and I'm not there. I'm not gonna like claim any great success. I think it can be done. Okay. Which is why I keep trying. But no one's actually done it yet. So that's a big disadvantage, because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it can't be done. The lack of vendor support means it's hard. They won't sell me advertising, so acquiring those users is difficult. They don't really seem to value it as a business model, so that also makes it hard. And, that can be the biggest problem here, is that if they don't value it, they're not going to, and they control all the means of promotion. That could eventually be, what kills this approach. And in the end, it's a lot of work for a little bit of money. It's like, how do you make a small fortune in publishing? Is you start with a large fortune. Right now, it's kind of like that. If we add up the numbers of how many hours I've spent on this, and what that adds up to at market rates, it's huge. And, I can get people to subscribe for a couple bucks a month. I need a lot of users to get that back. So that comes into the equation as well. Be realistic. Look at your stuff. Think about, okay, well, how much can I realistically charge people? How many users am I likely to realistically get? What's that add up to? And does that make it worth doing? If you're conscious about this and you're still good with it, maybe you're going for okay, if I can get in there, then I can get a venture capitalist to really give the funding to really push it over the top, then that's great. But, if you're looking to, pay, for your kid's college education or put food on the table, look at it long and hard. Okay. Anyways, that's the hard way. Hard way is create something of actual value that delivers end benefit to users such that you can add to your bottom line revenue. It's not a marketing expense anymore. It's not coming out of a cost center. It's coming out of a revenue center. Actually adding to the bottom line of you or your company. Okay? 3 steps to get there. 1, build something of value, something that people value. Find a way of measuring it. Okay, so you know if you're there or not. 2, get people who value it. Take what you've got, get to the people you want, acquire enough use, find a way of acquiring the users needed for that. 3, monetize them. Okay, pick one of the various ways that are there now. All of them have their little bars, but it will probably get easier as we get on. Hopefully, Amazon will come out with an API. Well, they've already talked about subscription stuff, so that may or may not come to fruition. But they're talking about it, so that's a big step forward. Google already have something, so there's something to start with there. Monetize those users. Start building revenue. All right. Well, thank you for listening. I will paste a couple things into the comments. Please ask your questions. I'm more than happy to follow up on them. Track me down on the Slack group, because they're an ungodly amount of time, and I'm always happy to give my opinion on things.